People often say, I know what I should be doing, but I'm just not doing it. As a nutrition coach, I often hear this as if it's as simple as flipping on a light switch. In reality, the gap between where you are and where you want to be can be massive. And there's no way you're going to bridge that gap without some help. For example, it can be far more complicated than just making up your mind that suddenly, after years of neglect, you will start exercising and cleaning up your nutrition. The fundamental habits needed for sustaining a healthy weight for the long term are: number one, learning to match energy intake, food, with expenditure or exercise. Balancing your daily energy intake versus output can be challenging, to say the least, and you will struggle if you are attempting this based on external cues like counting calories, balancing macros, or measuring how many steps you get a day. The key to balance is to learn to trust internal cues, not the feedback from an external method or device. Number two, learning to eat when you're hungry and to stop when you're full. This may be the most significant of the 4 points because it eliminates emotional eating and eating to excess. If you solve these 2 issues, you will never struggle with managing your weight again. And like the first point, this can only be accomplished by relying on internal cues. Number 3, get regular exercise balancing cardio with strength training. Less than 25% of our population gets the weekly recommended exercise, including strength training and cardio. While there are many recommendations, 5 hours total per week is an excellent standard to strive for. For example, 3 days of strength training combined with cardio on most of the other days would be fantastic. Now, the cardio could be more formal, like using a treadmill or an elliptical or a rowing machine. However, it could be simple as taking a walk. Number 4, get enough rest to fully recovery. Approximately 40% of our population gets less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Now, please don't discount the latter as being simple or easy to do. Each of the 4 requires several life skills, and without them, you will find it virtually impossible to execute these seemingly simple steps. You see, most people possess certain limiting factors that make up the gap between their current reality and where they would ultimately like to be. For example, the following is a sampling from some of the coaching clients I've worked with over the years: not eating enough protein, not eating enough fruits or veggies, eating too many overly processed carbs, eating too many unhealthy fats, and not drinking enough water. So does this sound like anyone that you know? And this is just getting started with basic nutritional needs. It doesn't include the following other significant skills and behaviors. For example, eating slowly, or eating to only 80% full, which means eating until you're satisfied versus stuffed, planning and prepping your meals, managing stress, and getting at least 7 hours of restful sleep per night. The first 5 are negative traits that need to be reversed. The second 5 are some positive skills and behaviors that need to be learned and practiced efficiently to achieve the 4 skills mentioned at the beginning. Ultimately, these 10 areas of focus will take time to achieve proficiency. When I talk with a potential client during their initial consultation, they typically look for a meal plan, including how many calories to consume and a specific ratio of macronutrients to strive for. In their mind, that's nutrition coaching. In reality, nothing can be further from the truth. Handing out meal plans is not nutrition coaching. How many physical books are available on the subject of nutrition and exercise? How about on the web in a digital format? And what about hard copy magazines? Between these combined sources, there's more information you could ever possibly consume in 3 lifetimes. And yet, as a nation, we're more overweight than ever and moving in the wrong direction. The problem is not a lack of information. It's a lack of the ability to put the knowledge into use. That's where nutrition coaching comes into play. My job is to fill the gap between my clients and where they want to be. And most want it all up front. Unfortunately, simultaneously tackling a list like the 10 items above would be a recipe for failure. So how many of you know someone who prides themselves on being good at multitasking? I learned this valuable insight from my mentor, Darren Hardy. You do understand there's no such thing as multitasking, right? It's impossible to run 2 cognitive processes in your brain simultaneously. If you were doing 2 things at once, you're switching between 2 tasks, making you dumber than if you were stoned. When you're stoned, your IQ drops by about 5 points. When you're switching between two different and yet like cognitive tasks, it drops by about 10. Look, you can walk on a treadmill, chew gum, and watch a video on your phone simultaneously and do great because you're using different parts of your brain. But when you're driving with your phone, you're either driving or you're looking at your phone. You can't do both simultaneously. So driving while using your phone is incredibly dangerous. Add a cup of coffee to the mix and you're a wreck waiting to happen. So when it comes to making changes to your nutrition, one thing at a time works the best. You probably heard that making something a habit takes at least 21 days. Now that's debatable depending on what you're talking about. However, 2 weeks seems to be a reasonable time frame to focus on building a new habit when it comes to your nutrition. So depending on the person, you might be more wired towards going after the big rocks first, or prefer to start with low-hanging fruit. Either way, focus on one area for improvement for a couple of weeks and then move on to something different. Now, don't forget about the first area of focus. However, shift your attention to layering in the new habit. The list of 10 above will take about 5 months to work through. And for some, that might seem slow. But if the skills gained would last forever, would it be worth it? Would it be worth it if the second list of 5 in particular protects you from ever relapsing back to your old ways? 5 months is nothing in the big scheme of life. And this is just a simple example. My average nutrition coaching client needs to lose 25 pounds or more. We're looking at 4 months of losing 1 to 2 pounds per week, which is very doable and sustainable. So for sake of perspective, my example of spending 5 months to achieve your goals is not that long. Be careful about dismissing an opportunity for growth and change because of the time commitment. The time will pass regardless. And no matter how much you need to lose, if what you've been trying is not yielding the desired results, maybe it's time to consider a different solution. So in closing, if you feel like you know what you should be doing, but you're struggling to take consistent action or achieve the success with your help that you're seeking, consider getting some help. The most successful people from all walks of life have coaches for every area you can imagine, including nutrition. Beating yourself up for struggling to reach your health and fitness goals is like scolding a first grader for not being able to do college level algebra. They don't have the skill set to do what you're asking, precisely like the limiting factors I'm referring to about your health. I listed only 10 limiting factors at the beginning of this video. When working with clients, I examined 8 categories totaling 33 limiting factors, and any combination of these could derail you from reaching your goals. Remember, we all need a little help at some point in life. If you're struggling to reach your health and fitness goals, click the link below to schedule a complimentary consult. Best of luck in your journey.